The 2022 election at Kwame and Nkrumah University unfolded in a whirlwind of controversy, with Joshua Musolo leading Team Viva and Matongo Mwendabae heading Leadership for Change, also known as Small Issues.
To my side, the elections were not free and fair. Why do I say so? Some people who were serving in office were actively participating, in the partisan politics. Then, secondly, on the aspect of the candidature, especially my candidature, I think it was a position which was highly political. Yes, we understand that it is political to be in that position, but I think the kind and nature of politics that was there was politics of abuse and patronage.
I didn't see fairness in the way everything was conducted. The Electoral Commission seemed corrupt. The whole process seemed rigged. They had a direction they were going, and when the student populace chose another direction, they decided to nullify the whole process to suit their needs, whatever their needs were at the particular time.
I did everything within my powers and my abilities genuinely to convince hundreds of the students to vote for me as their president, and they did so.
The campaign period was marked by escalating tension on campus as both parties brazenly violated the code of conduct, actions that should have resulted in their disqualification.
So elections are procedural. Whether or not they were free and fair, personally I do feel there were certain procedures that were supposed to be followed, and I saw from the outcome of everything that happened that procedures were followed. And so when you're talking about whether or not they were free and fair, it should be based on the procedures. And if the procedures were followed, personally I do feel then that the elections from that perspective were free and fair. But if we're talking about morals and the issue of morality into the whole process, it's very clear and obvious that the elections were not free and fair. So really the answer will depend on what you're looking at when you ask the question, were the elections free and fair?
So were the elections fair and fair? If you ask me, I would say yes, they were fair and fair. Because the observers came out satisfying, and some people accepted defeat, and it's like, okay, yeah.
Surprisingly, the Nkrumah Electoral Commission chose not to nullify the candidacies despite clear breaches. Amidst the chaos, a pre-election memorandum of understanding was signed by both parties, seemingly diffusing the situation as they agreed to accept the results regardless of their campaign differences.
Looking at the occurrences that transpired during that period, I remember a few days before the polling day, we had a meeting where all the stakeholders or the parties, the people involved had to sign agreements of the same, agreeing to the fact that everything that transpired was okay, and they were willing to continue in that route. So they were fair and fair. The elections.
However, this agreement proved ephemeral, as allegations arose suggesting some university staff actively participated in the student elections, raising questions about the election's fairness.
The role our office played is to facilitate that the elections are held as per constitution by encouraging the Electoral Commission. The first role that we played is we inaugurated the Electoral Commission so that they start their work, which we did. And then afterward, the Electoral Commissions were the ones who drafted the roadmap, and all the requirements like nomination fees, we didn't interfere in that. Then after that, the election, after they were over as per constitution, when there was a dispute, a tribunal was set as per your provisions in the constitution, which is mandated, and it has a composition that is defined. Legal advisor, guild advisor, a speaker, and one whole representative plus one representative from Dean of Students office. That is basically what our role we played. Then from there, after the elections were concluded, we inaugurated, with the Vice Chancellor inaugurating the newly elected leaders. Yeah, so I think our role. That is where we played. We never interfered in any way.
But I think the kind and nature of politics that was there was politics of abuse and patronage. Okay, where you tend to tag an individual as a murderer, on unfounded, on very unfounded and malicious, information. That in itself drew away the love and the support that we enjoyed as LFC Leadership for Change.
Polling day arrived, and Joshua Musolo was declared the president-elect of Kwame Nkrumah University, further deepening the divide among the student populace. In response, Matongo and Leadership for Change swiftly petitioned the election, leading to the establishment of a tribunal to address the mounting concerns.
Now, why did we petition? Based on the things that I've just outlined, those are on the premise, and those are the issues that led to the petitioning of the election. Some people may be concerned and say, why petitioning? There are a number of things that you look at, especially when someone has faced what's known as resistance, when someone has faced abuse. You don't go violent. I think the best way is to go with a non-violent form of resistance, which is employing the rule of law. We have a constitution that is in place as Kwame Nkrumah University Union, and it clearly spells out the conditions and the issues that one can put to petition. And we brought those things, put them on the table, and indeed the petition was heard, and the election, especially on the office of presidents, were nullified, looking at the grounds and the environment itself.
The petition was necessary simply because it is provided for in the Constitution. Okay, the Constitution supports a petition, and everything that the Constitution supports, it means it is necessary and can take place. So for me, the petition was okay. The petition was okay, and everything that transpired.
But I must emphasize that when things did not go as planned and there was that dispute, we engaged and kept on guiding the students through the guild, electoral commissioners, the judiciary, and also the candidates that were aggrieved. We kept on guiding them to, put their grievances within the guidelines of the guild constitution, because the grievance should be within the provisions of the constitution. But most of them, unfortunately, they were forwarding their self-interest to say, in my opinion, in my view. The constitution does not work on opinions. It works on provisions that are stipulated. Your provision is broken, unfortunately, then it has to be executed.
I felt the decision that came out from the tribunal was very harsh and unfair, in my opinion, because considering the facts which were on the table from the defense side, having agreed before poll day that these are the things that we decided, all of us, to put behind and move forward, and that everyone was ready to accept the results that were going to come from the students voting. That indeed signified and placed every one of us in a position that everyone was ready for the outcome of an election. So I considered the decision that came from the tribunal to be a bit harsh and a bit unfair on my side, but it is a decision that we decided to respect, even though it is something that we can't accept, and we didn't accept even then. But for the sake of peace, we decided to respect that. And there was a group of people that were so determined to ensure that Joshua is not president, and they did everything they could do, the tactics, manipulated the constitution, quoted the constitution in their favor, to ensure that Joshua doesn't appear back on the ballot, because they knew that Joshua going back on the ballot meant that students were going to vote for him still. And I consider students to be intellectuals, and if they felt indeed Joshua did something wrong and Joshua was on the wrong side of the petition, whatever grounds that were presented there, they were going to consider me to be a person that was on the wrong side. And up to now, they could have said and could have come out to say Joshua indeed did something wrong.
So when we talk about the issue of the petition, again, I keep emphasizing that some of these things are procedural. And so you see stuff that you don't really want to see happen. And that's what we must understand about some of these things, especially as far as politics is concerned. You look at the petition, when on the procedural side, it tells you that that is a constitutional right. It doesn't matter whether or not it's a moral thing. At the end of the day, it's a constitutional right. So you have, I would say, the audacity and the right to actually do a petition, even when you know that you have genuinely lost. Because at the end of the day, it's the petition that's going to prove to you that you have genuinely lost those particular elections. And therefore, it's one of the reasons they made it a constitutional right, so that we can clear out some of these issues that we do have. Imagine if there was no petition in the first place. Somebody who genuinely lost, therefore, wouldn't stand a chance to prove themselves to the people that they won. And therefore, it means that morality doesn't really play a role as far as these things are concerned. You can choose whether or not to do it.
The outcome of the tribunal was swift and decisive. Both candidates, Joshua Musolo and Matongo Mwendabai, found themselves disqualified, forever barred from recontesting on the university's ballot paper. The repercussions were profound, as the student populace became disillusioned with the Electoral Commission and the entire election process. The university, however, staunchly denied any involvement in the election process, leaving the student body grappling with a sense of betrayal and loss of trust in the institution.
Because to us, it felt like they had lost their potential candidate, so they pushed for another election to put their puppets. That's what it looked like to the student populace. And to answer the final question, do I have faith in the electoral process? No, not anymore. All faith is gone. It's eroded. They lost us. They had multiple opportunities at that particular period to give us back our confidence, but they chose other things. They decided to run an election immediately after, chewing guild funds. They never asked the whole student populace if we wanted a re-election. They never asked us if we were comfortable with the malpractices, even though they were found. We, as the population, should have been given a choice to say, okay, this is the evidence you people have brought forward. We are confident with the results. We are okay with whoever has won, not where they sit as a commission and decide to say, this was wrong. We're going to have a re-election. We're going to use the guild's funds. That's how they lost us and our confidence. It's like our input was not necessary.
Based on my experience, I think I have had one of the best experiences as far as elections are concerned. I remember I was part of, obviously just like any other citizen, the elections in 2021, the general elections, the national elections, and a few experiences here and there. Those were good elections. But specifically for these ones that we had at our institution, I think for me, were a life-changing experience, because I got to understand exactly how elections run. Going forward, it means therefore that if we are really to expose ourselves as students to the real system of politics and elections, then that is the system that we must carry going forward. I hear this word going around that the party system that was allowed in the previous elections wasn't really good. I would love to call that intellectual masturbation, because if you are really preparing yourself for real life politics, then obviously what you must have now is real life politics in university. It therefore means that the party system is particularly important, because when you go out there in real life politics, that's what you will find. So when you say we shouldn't have the party system, it therefore means that you're just intellectually masturbating, because you're not preparing yourself for the real things as far as politics are concerned.